Yes, it's working. First time. Do. What is up, y'all? Teresa here from Divine Frequency. Got my mic set up. Hopefully, this isn't gonna fall. I have a plastic table, so it's clinging on for dear life and it's kind of moving. So if the whole set falls down in the middle of the stream, you'll just have to bear with me. How are y'all doing tonight? It is so good to see y'all. Happy Wednesday. We are halfway through the week. Doing good. How's everybody doing? All right. We're gonna do this stream a little bit differently today. I'm gonna go a little bit more chillaxed so that I can actually read what you guys are saying because I realize in a lot of these live streams I have so much to cover that I'm not able to really engage. So I want the experience to be maybe a little bit for better for the live streamers. It might, deplete the experience for people watching the recap, but I'm doing the best I can over here. Thank you guys for being here. Okay, so what's up, Pat? What's up, Sarah? We're going to go ahead and hashtag mermaid life this, dive right in. And we got to do a hashtag cookie monster life. We need some cookie monster posters, I think, but we're here. We're having a good night. Okay, thank you guys for being here. Jump in the chat. Tell us where you're from, where you're hailing from. I'm in Texas today, and it's been rainy and cold. It's kind of like Washington State today. Welcome to February in Texas, where one day you can go outside and get a tan, and then the next few days you can't because it's raining and freezing cold. So, what's up, Lori? Thanks for the unicorn emoji. Awesome, awesome. Okay, Pat, go. No notice in your subscriber feed, Pat. Interesting. That's crazy. Well, if you guys go to my website, thedivinefrequency.com, and you sign up for the email list, you will get some notifications on different things that I'm doing as well. And yeah, that's weird about the YouTube channel, though. Okay, we got some people hailing from Oregon, Los Angeles. What's up, John? Good to see you guys. Alrighty. Sarah's in the frozen tundra. Wow. Okay. What's up, Ellen? San Diego. I bet it's nice in San Diego. San Diego is kind of like the Austin of California, in my opinion. It kind of has the Austin feel, but it has palm trees. It's pretty cool. What up, Shannon? Texas in the house. Good to see you, friend. All right. We have a lot to cover today. It's so much to cover. I don't think we're going to get through all of it. So let me just tweet this stuff out real quick to my peeps on Patreon, letting people know that I'm live. All right. So another thing I wanted to tell you guys, if you're on Twitter, make sure you follow me, first of all, because that's where I am constantly posting. And then tonight, and when we do live streams, we are going to be posting with the hashtag. So we'll live tweet tonight with hashtag DF on air. I just posted in the chat. So if you guys want, come on over to, if you get TweetDeck, it kind of brings up the hashtag for you so that you can follow it pretty easily. And yeah, we can be tweeting with that. I just tweeted one on DF on air, and then I'll just be keeping my eye on the TweetDeck. So if you guys have any thoughts and you want to share with me on Twitter, you can jump over there and put that there. I'm just kind of fixing my setup over here. Okay, so we have TweetDeck's really cool. If y'all don't have it, you should get it. Okay. Getting organized. Okay, it's good to have the studio setup going. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So first things first, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit of a story that my friend called me yesterday. He just got back from Tulum, Mexico, and he made some new friends in Mexico, and they were telling him a story about how, so it's a guy and a girl, and they went to McDonald's, and they're waiting in the line at McDonald's, and the guy has to pee. So it's a two-story McDonald's. He gets out of the line. He leaves his girlfriend. I think it's his girlfriend. And he goes to pee. He comes back, and his girlfriend is gone. She's nowhere to be found. And he's looking in the line. He's like, where is she? Where's my girlfriend? He can't find her. He's looking and he's looking. He's like, this is crazy. And so he's starting to get a little worried. Then he turns around, and all of a sudden, she's just standing there. And she said, whoa, I felt like I was losing my mind for a second. She just disappeared and then reappeared. It was crazy. So he called. He had to tell me about this because he knows I'm into paranormal and high strangeness. Have you guys ever had this happen to you or to anyone around you, or have you ever heard of this happening? Because I personally have never heard anything like this happening, where a person just seems to disappear and then reappear. I don't know. I'm interested in hearing what you'll have to say on this, because he was like, have you ever heard this? I'm like, I haven't. So anyway, if y'all have ever heard of anything like that, let us know. Did she time travel? Where'd she go? That's the question. Not for Alan. Yeah, Me neither. I never heard of that. Okay, but I thought I would just drop that out there in case we can put our paranormal lives together and have somebody. I wish this chair got taller. It's as tall as it gets. I'm still getting my situation going. Okay. We good? All right. So that's that. Okay. So we are back from Conscious Life Expo. I went last week. It was so much fun. It was really good to see everybody again. I hadn't seen in a really long time. And the interviews went really well. Shout out to Jeremiah for the help filming everything, and Matthew for helping, getting people where they needed to go. It was crazy because there's so many people at Conscious Life Expo. It's hard to find where you need to go, and all the hallways look exactly the same. So you basically walk around being lost the entire time. But I did get a chance to interview Mary Rodwell, Scott Wolter, William Henry, Lisa Garr, and Billy Carson. So those interviews will be coming out. Hopefully, I'll be able to release one a week every Monday. That's kind of my working schedule that I'm going with. And I'm getting a little bit faster at editing, but I don't have good editing software. I'm actually using iMovie right now. And so with 3 different cameras and 2 audio tracks, it has been pretty crazy. So let's see. And shout out to Lulu. She's going to be moderating the chat. So if you guys have any questions, put them all in caps. She's going to make sure that she gets those questions over to me. Hey, girl, good to see you. How's your week going? Okay. All right. We're all set. So John said, I don't see any cookies, Pat. I know. We need to have special divine frequency cookies. That would be amazing. Hey, that's a really good idea. You know what we could do? We could do a live stream one night in my kitchen, and I could make cookies, and we could all hang out and make cookies together. That would be super fun. Okay. Where's my mouse? When you have first world problems having 2 screens, right? Okay, here we go. So just make sure that you're following me across social media for knowledge on when I'm going to be posting videos. So the next 4 or 5 weeks, you'll be getting those new interviews coming from Conscious Life Expo. They're all approximately 20 minutes each. I'm posting on Twitter every day. On YouTube, I'll be posting weekly, and then likely I'll be doing at least 1 live stream a week. And then I'm going to be producing a lot more interviews. So what you might be starting to see, this is kind of what I'm sort of trying to fall into, is posting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, where Monday you're going to get one of those produced interviews. Wednesday or Friday, I'll be live streaming. And then one of those days I'll be doing an interview with somebody potentially live as well. This Friday, I will be interviewing Truth Seeker. Go follow him on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube homepage, it'll actually show him as a suggested channel. So you can go check out his content. But he's a Christian mystic, and he has a lot of really interesting content on his YouTube channel. He interviews a lot of different people from all different walks of life, which is really fascinating. So go check him out. What's up, Ozichel? Did I pronounce that correctly? I don't know. That's a cool username. Hey guys, hope y'all are having a good night tonight. Also, the last live stream that I did, I realized my mom pointed this out. This is my Contigo that I'm using. I took the lid off to drink, and then I realized that you don't actually have to because there's a hole in the top of it. Anyway, that was really funny. Oh, Sarah, you like Christian mysticism. Cool. Well, we're going to be talking about that on Friday. And he's going to tell us his awakening story, which will be pretty cool. So, yeah, I wanted to share with you guys, if you don't already follow me on Twitter, I'm sharing a Twitter post in the chat right now. It was really funny. So today I tweeted, is ufology anything other than people publishing stuff and then arguing about it on Twitter, asking for ... a friend? And little did I know this post was going to be very popular today. I'm shedding, my hair's falling out. I don't know about y'all, but man, I'm going through that for the last couple of months. My hair's been falling out. It's really annoying. Okay, so it was really popular. People were commenting on it, and I got some really, really good traction and people having really interesting things to say. It was really fun. But anyway, in particular, I wanted to bring up one comment because I wanted to talk to you guys about it. Uh, it was by Ryan Sprague. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But so the comment he made was hardened skeptics shaming the younger researchers for re-examining cases with a new lens. And I really liked that perspective. I had to retweet it because I was like, that's a really, really good point. And something that I wanted to kind of bring up for us to kind of ruminate on for a little bit is this concept that information progresses and develops as time moves on. And especially when it comes to something like ufology, we got the internet, and then people start talking about their experiences. And then you have new information coming out through Freedom of Information Act requests, which is coming from like more official channels. Then you have experiencers, and then you have independent researchers and people collaborating to bring more information out. Now, what's really fascinating about this to me is that as the younger generations come into adulthood, and they're looking into different things to see what they're interested in going into as far as their interests and their life purpose, we're going to be welcoming some new people into concepts like not just ufology, but anything that anyone is interested in, looking toward the future, looking at the youngins coming in and supporting that, and watching their process of growth and their own process of research and learning about things, and being a supportive hand in that, and not trying to quash that out, and really kind of ruin that excitement, that innocence, as they grow. So I'm going to check and see what we have here in the chat. Sarah says, I feel the young ones and those longer on the path need to come together. Absolutely. That's a great comment, Sarah. Yeah, it's a good point, because really the people who've been on this path, or when I say this path, really just the path of life, walking the path of life, being able to come together with the younger generations, we need to find ways that we can communicate together. That's one thing, generations communicate differently. So how do we find common ground to be able to speak together and bridge the gaps across the generations? It's a really interesting thought. And another thing, I think everybody has a different um, gift. So you're going to have someone from another generation have a gift of speaking to someone from another generation. So being able to see that and appreciate people have different, I always say this, appreciate everybody else's lanes. Everybody's got their own lanes. Let's appreciate each other's lanes, because we can't do it all. We need each other. What's up? Truth Seeka's here. So glad to see you. You guys go on over and give Truth Seeka a follow. We were just talking about you. We were talking about how excited I am for our interview on Friday. And we have some people really excited to hear about the Christian mysticism side. And, you're always welcome on this channel. Thank you for being here, friend. Okay. So Sarah brought up another good point. She said, unfortunately, we don't have a culture of respecting elders. Yeah, I think that's true. Absolutely. And I also think that there is a climate, especially online, where young people are really not supported at all. So it goes both ways. It's almost like you have young people that maybe are discriminating against the elders, and then the elders discriminating against the youngers. It's like it definitely goes both ways. But it's interesting. And I think there's also kind of a concept where people want to hoard knowledge, and instead of being more open about the things that they know, and being willing to share that in a way that's not judgmental. If someone doesn't know something, instead of saying like, oh, you don't know this, just share it. Another, I think, way of looking at this is like, if you have a favorite movie, and then you bring it up to someone, hey, have you seen this movie? And they say, no, I've never seen this movie. And you go, oh, how, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Instead of being like that, being like, "Oh, that's so exciting that I get to share this with you." Like changing that perspective a little bit. Like, let's have open communication. Okay, let's see. Anything? Oh, hi, Charles. Teresa, that's me. Sacker, greetings from Belgium. Very cool. Good to see you. And Sarah says she's had many elders diss her. Yeah, I know, I know where you're coming from for sure. And we could definitely benefit from. Yeah. Okay. Sarah says they could benefit from her support and vice versa. Absolutely. Yeah. It definitely goes both ways. And another thing, if people that are teachers across generations are able to come together, then it actually just benefits everybody. Because if you have different generations of people who are speaking on the same topic, let's take ufology, for instance, if we find a way that we can communicate together, now you're able to teach in a multimedia, multifaceted way that's going to be able to reach the masses. Okay. And Ellen asks, has anyone ever experienced a bright, blinding flash in their room after being awoken from a deep sleep? I have. I've had that experience. Anyone else? Very cool. Okay. So So that's that. I thought that was really interesting. Thank you, Ryan, for chiming in, and thank you everybody on Twitter for chiming in on that conversation. It was really funny. If you haven't read it, go read the comments on that. It's pretty cool. Okay, so another thing, I had this thought about, as we're talking about information progressing and developing as time moves on. I wanted to talk for a second about this concept of disclosure. And I know that this is a very unpopular opinion with kind of the anarchist conspiracy theorists, but there are a lot of gray areas. I come from a military family, and we just respect there is an order to things. And I know that this is very controversial of me to say, and I might actually lose subscribers over that statement. But I personally don't have any issues with the government having classified information for national security purposes. There is a balance here, and it is a gray area. People want to think cut and dry, oh, the cabal, all these people are bad. Every single person is bad in the government or the military. That's really not the case. It's all a gray area. We need to have a balanced perspective on this. And I do think that, as we're talking about younger generations coming into ufology and other concepts, information and how it's being distilled is going to shift and continue to change. Things will be continued to released as time progresses, and new information can come out through FOIA requests. That's only one aspect of it. I mean, a lot of this information takes time to process, even for experiencers, even for researchers. There's a gap between when you release information and when it's actually digested by the public. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. So, as a content creator myself, and as an author, as a YouTuber, producer, all these things, there is absolutely a gap when you publish information and to see time pass, and then all of a sudden finally people start to catch on, and you finally get in touch with people who you can collaborate with. Like, these things take time is what I'm getting at. So you might have something like the Rendlesham Forest incident that happened in 1980. It could take 40 years for some parts of the story to come out, or for certain people to meet each other so that they can have a platform to speak. It just takes time. So as society is changing, people are growing up, and so we need to have a more open mindset about this. And instead of having resistance, I see a lot of resistance in ufology to people wanting to have conversations. So anyway, very cool. Okay, thanks, Trusika, for adding me as a featured channel. It's really cool because when you add someone on YouTube as a featured channel, other people can find you. I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, who's Trusika?" I'm like, "Yeah, go check them out." Very cool. Um, Exciting times, Ellen. Yes, this is very true. Thank you guys so much for being here. Okay, so and make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel if you're not yet. Go on down there, give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. Okay, so I'm off of my disclosure soapbox for the time being. So yeah, we have an upcoming interview coming next Monday, and we will do a live stream on that. And I'm actually going to do a book giveaway. So come to the live stream. This is Cryptic Code of the Templars in America, Origins of the Hooked X Symbol. Scott Wolter is the host of Travel Channel's America Unearthed. And I'm going to give this book away. So yeah, I'm probably going to do a live stream either next Wednesday or Friday. And we can talk about the interview, and I'll do the book giveaway. So come hang out. And yeah. Sarah says, resistance everywhere. I get annoyed, which is annoying. Yes. Getting annoyed can be very annoying. Agreed. Okay. So I think that's all of my intro, which is, we took 18 minutes to do that. Man, we have so much interesting stuff to cover. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the Mary Rodwell interview. So everybody jump into the chat and let me know. First of all, did you get a chance to watch the Mary Rodwell interview? If you got a chance to watch it, say yes. And if you want to just kind of throw in the chat what your thoughts are on the interview, because I would love to see that. I know others would as well. John, I'm not sure if I'm going to Contact in the Desert. I'd like to. I'm not sure yet, though. Okay. Ozachel got to see it. John got to see it. John Jones got to see it. Cool. Okay, so some people got to see it. What an amazing interview. Did you guys see my jaw drop about halfway through the interview when she starts talking about military abduction? She looped some things together for me that floored me. And if you guys have been watching my channel from its inception like 4 or 5 years ago, you've watched this story progress from my end, but man, it's really fascinating to get a chance to interview experts who have so much experience and then have those connections occur during the interview. It was really, really funny. It's been a while since something like that's happened to me, but okay. I really don't want this to fall. Okay, so Mary Rodwell, she was a nurse and then she became a professional counselor. And at a certain point, she started actually counseling people who claim to have ET contact experiences. And she's been doing that for, I think, 25 years, or 25 or 35 years, but she's been doing research. I think she's been doing the counseling for 35 years, but she's been doing the research for 25, something like that. But she's written books about this. And what was really interesting to me to do this interview with her is that because she has so much research behind her, she was able to give me statistics and things like that from her research as I was asking her questions. So it was really cool. Um, yeah. Okay. So Sarah says, feels like the military connections being brought to light for many. Yes, definitely was brought to light for me. That's for sure. John, I would love to. You're going, that's cool. Pat says great interview. Very cool. Oh, Jason, well, if you didn't get a chance to see it, go check it out. It's a pretty good interview. It was so amazing. Ozichel says that they're a friend of Mary's. She helped through a distressing time, and they've also had both a military abduction and genuine encounter experiences. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about that now. So I made kind of comments on the interview that I want to kind of pull and we can chat about for a second. So the first thing that I wanted to make a point to say is that something that I noticed that Mary said that a lot of people that I interviewed stated, and just other people at this conference that I was at, they had paranormal experiences that caused them to turn away from conventional religion. Now, I think that's really interesting because I've heard this a lot, and what I really find fascinating though, and this is something that I've been talking about now for a month, but the more we have these conversations, the more you guys will understand what I'm talking about. There are Christians that, and Truthika and I are probably going to get a chance to talk about this a lot more on Friday. There are Christians out there that have a lot to say actually about supernatural and paranormal experiences. So this is called The Supernatural Worldview, Examining Paranormal Sci and the Apocalyptic. This book is fascinating. And then this is The Unseen Realm. Sorry, my lighting's kind of crazy. By Michael Heiser. This one's by Chris Putnam. But anyway, these books, I'm learning a lot about. There are threads here that are very important to consider when it comes into the paranormal and supernatural experiences. There's a distinction between what is paranormal and what is supernatural. And this is what I mean. The paranormal, these are natural abilities that we have that we just don't have the tools to explain yet. One day we will likely be able to explain these things, hopefully, right? These are things like psi abilities, precognition, dreams, things like that, remote viewing. Like these are natural human abilities. So from a faith-based perspective, not just any Christian perspective, or even if you're not Christian, you believe in God, you believe in higher power. These are these are abilities that were given to you by the creator, by source, by whatever it is that you want to call it. For me as a Christian, I call it God, right? God-given abilities. That isn't evil because it's God-given. Now, I think that there's a point to be made here because across the board, especially for Americans, not just Americans, I mean, this woman is an American. So it's a commonality or a common thread where people have felt like there's a lack in education or support from Christian faiths to support them in having paranormal experiences. And what I'm trying to get at is that Christianity doesn't bar you from having paranormal experiences. In a true sense, Christianity actually explains a lot of this and gives a very empowering look to a lot of this information, is what I'm trying to get at here. So, anyway, I just think that that's really fascinating and it's something to consider because sometimes when you are burned by someone who calls themselves a Christian, but they're not actually in alignment with the faith-based teachings, they're going to shut you down and you're going to get a bad taste in your mouth, throw the baby out with the bathwater and think it's all BS or whatever. So anyway, it's something interesting to consider. So what's next? So Where do we wanna go next? Memories uncovered through hypnosis. Okay, so she starts talking about Mary Rodwell starts talking about hypnosis and that their memories, like these people's memories of ET contact experiences would be uncovered through hypnosis. And the conclusions about this experience would be made after the hypnotic regression, right? Okay, so we were talking about the difference between paranormal and supernatural. Paranormal being natural, God given abilities, they're just natural, it's not evil, you have it. And then you have the supernatural, and this is beyond the physical. So when you go into things like hypnotic regression or meditative states or altered states of consciousness or dream state or whatever, these are areas where you can have overlap between paranormal experiences and supernatural experiences. So it's interesting to think about. So it creates this gray area where you're asking yourself, is this something paranormal? Or is this something supernatural? So by default, all supernatural phenomena are paranormal because they're the unexplained, but not everything that's paranormal is beyond the physical or supernatural. So that's the distinction between the two. And we're going to talk much, much more about this. I'm going to take a second to come over and look at the chat. Okay, very interesting stuff talking about. Okay, cool. So that's that. And then we have this concept of the gray area, creating a space for potential deception. Okay. So this is my question when it comes to meditative states and you're calling things in and you're getting messages or you're getting visions or whatever. What if this is potentially supernatural? And what if this is just like intuitive information that you're getting from your higher self, some people call that, or does that make sense? And so for me, I'm wondering about this gray area and how we can distill wisdom from being discerning about the information that we receive in these states. And so something that I like to kind of use here, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this, is that I've created what I call the 3 Ds. The 3 Ds. So it's deception, distraction, and delusion. So we have this concept where you can be deceived, which is accepting lies or half truths. You can be distracted, which keeps you off the path of truth, or you can be deluded. And this is when you're just getting whisked away and lost in fantasy. This is where kind of escapism comes in. And what I think is really important is when it comes to ufology, there are so many layers here to the unknown that we're all trying to kind of sift through and really try to find the truth about. So, as we're going along, it's important to consider that these 3 Ds are points of reference, and it's something that I kinda like it's like a check mark that you kinda like or a checkpoint is what I meant to say, like a checkpoint where you stop and you go, "Okay, what could potentially be the deception here? What could be distracting about this information? What could be delusional about this information?" So it's kind of important to, just kind of keep these threads in the back of your mind as you're having your own experiences and as you're listening to others, and making sure that, the information that you're ingesting, digesting, and kind of ruminating on is for your best good, for your higher interest. Lori says we walk in the supernatural. Amen. That's true. Okay, so I had a comment on Twitter on that post I was telling you guys about where 606 Humans said it's all a psyop, which psychological operation is what that stands for, designed to suck your energy. This whole thing, talking about ufology, is comparable to watching sports and being a sports fan. It's all just to keep us occupied. So I think it's a really interesting perspective to bring into this conversation. Thank you for chiming in because I think that there's a level of entertainment and we get occupied with things that seem to entertain us, and then there are people who are looking for answers because they themselves are experiencers and they're trying to figure out what happened to them, and then you have researchers who are really trying to distill wisdom and present information to the general public from usually the experiencers or the phenomenon itself. Like there are people that actually take footage of UFOs. So there's like the UFO side, and then there's like the ET contactee happens in dream state or hypnosis side. There are, like I said, lots and lots of different layers to this idea. So I'm gonna take a drink. How's everybody doing in the chat? There's so much fun stuff happening on. Okay, so Steve says, so have you had an inclination, God supernaturally conscious state of awareness? I mean, I think that we all every single person has the capacity to connect to God, creator, source, whatever it is you want to call it. We have that built into us. All of us do. I think it can be really dangerous when we forget that. And sometimes people will tell other people that, they need intermediaries. And as you guys know, if you watch Divine Frequency, I talk a lot about intermediaries and just making sure that you're just not giving yourself away to other people that are trying to deceive you, or other things, objects, items that actually create stumbling blocks for you in between you and your connection to God. Sarah says, I agree. Everything is set up for distraction right now. We can choose to be hijacked or choose to get stronger via training. Totally, totally agree. Very cool. Okay. So here is the breakdown of ufology. I wanted to present this to you guys because I think this is useful. So, this is something that I thought of today, and I'm interested in hearing y'all's thoughts on this because it can be improved. I just thought about this today. So, I believe that ufology is a trifecta. We have number one, experiencers. So, this is the expression of or data collection of the internal or the mental. Number two, we have UFOs. This is the expression of or data collection of the external or the physical, potentially non physical. Number three, we have researchers and scientists. This is people engaged in studies, in the study of it. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste this here. Oh, it's too much. I can't do that. That's funny. Hold on. Let me see if I can delete that part. I'm trying to put this into the chat so y'all can look at it. Okay. I'm going to say that again. Ufology is a trifecta. We've got experiencers, then the UFOs, then the researchers and the scientists. It's kind of interesting. All right, so we're going to dive into the concept of perceived extraterrestrial contact. So, in the interview with Mary Rodwell, she starts talking about the first person that came to her in her office that she's counseling had marks on their body, and they also had shared experiences with family members. So I think they said she said his son and wife or something were also having experiences together. So there were shared experiences, that's one, and then there were marks on the body. Okay, so this would be considered what facts of the case. And it's interesting because this person isn't the only one that has this happen, right? So I thought it was really interesting that she started listing people she was already researching. And then she starts just listing this off. So I looked up some of this information and I'm going to drop it into the chat. But there was one guy she listed. His name is Dr. John Mack, and he was the head of the Department of Psychiatry at Harvard. I also thought it was interesting that he was in the United States Air Force, and he was looking into alien abduction experiences psychology. I dropped the Wikipedia in the chat there. What's up, Zura? Good to see you. What's up, Alan? Okay. So, something that was interesting about him is that he wrote a book called Abduction Human Encounters with Aliens. It was written and published in 1994. So, here is the link to the book if you want to buy it. And then, so this is, I'm just going to read a part of the Wikipedia that I saw. So he initially suspected that such persons, so meaning ET contactees, were suffering from mental illness. But when no obvious pathologies were present in the persons he interviewed, his interest was piqued. Okay, so he thought, okay, surely all these people are crazy. But then he realized they weren't. Okay, so many of the people he interviewed reported that their encounters had affected the way they regarded the world, including producing a heightened sense of spirituality and environmental concern. So there was something positive coming out of this contact. Okay, that's kind of interesting. What's up, Tyler? Good to see you. Andrew says, I think part of the ET narrative is the military industrial complex's way of deceiving everyone for something far more complex. Thank you, Andrew, for chiming in. And I want you to hold on to that because we're going to get into that in like just a few minutes. I'm so glad that you said that. Very, very good point. Okay. I wish you would tweet that. Lulu, you should tweet that. That's really good. Okay. So where are we at? Oh, okay. His interest in the spiritual, so we're talking about Dr. John Mack, his interest in the spiritual or transformational aspects of people's alien encounters, and his suggestion that the experience of alien contact itself may be more transcendent than physical in nature, yet nonetheless real. Okay, so we're talking about what's real but we're also have to talk about non-physical and physical reality. Okay. Set him apart from many of his contemporaries, such as Bud Hopkins, who advocated the physical reality of aliens. Okay, so we have somebody who's saying, like, it doesn't really matter if this is physical or non-physical, it's real to the person, therefore it's something that's important. And that's what I think is really cool about Mary Rodwell is that, and I mentioned this in the interview, I'm like, delusional or not, these people are having these experiences, they need real tangible help, and you're providing that help. So it's very good. Oh, John Jones says that's a great book. Cool. Well, we might all have to read it then. Okay. So that's that. And she did a she did a research project with 3,000 people worldwide on abduction or ET contact experiences. Okay. So then I asked her, "Well, we're dealing with marks on the body. Isn't this against free will? What's benevolent? What's malevolent?" To the idea of malevolence, she calls these ETs self-serving. And she also brought in, and this is where we're going to get to what Andrew just said, the marks on the body, they're not necessarily ET, but it could be military. Okay, so now we are going to shift, and now we're talking about military abduction, y'all. Okay, so she also called this military interference. And she said that this colors the water of the ET contact phenomenon. Um, it complicates it. And because you might be thinking that this is an extraterrestrial, but it's not. And then she brought up the term programmed life forms. Don't know if y'all have heard this before, but she says that they can look extraterrestrial, but they're created by the military. Now, I'm going to have to do more research on this because I don't know where that idea came from. If this came from information that she found because of hypnotic regression, but I would really like to see if there's any other kind of proof on this. I don't know if anybody uh, knows about that. Okay, Blue Moxie chimes in. It says it's called a PLF. Okay, I learned a new phrase today. Program life forms. There it is. Very cool. Okay. So I want to look at what Ozachel's saying. Real is like truth. It's a subjective perspective. It also creates confusion in the mind of the experiencer. I think there's a lot here that's happening that's creating confusion in the mind of the experiencer for sure. What's up, Pale Horse? Good to see you. Saying way too many UFO people have said everything is good or bad, simplistic boomer thinking. Well, okay, not necessarily boomer. I mean, I think that it's across the board. It's a very large discussion. And okay, Sarah Ann says, if you have a website and want to know if military have ever abducted, just talk about it and watch your back in live traffic. Okay, interesting. Okay, so she says that she uncovers the quote unquote truth of if the experience is negative or not through hypnosis. And she was stating that some people say they're afraid, but it's not because it's good or bad. It's just because the fear is this anticipation that it's bad, but then they find that they're actually undergoing some kind of healing. In one of her studies, 50% of the people said that they were having healings on craft. And she said that fear didn't come from what happened, but from what might have happened. So she kind of brings in the concept of fear. And we talked about that. And then my question was, couldn't we say that all of this is military abduction? Then, I mean, if we're considering that there are things called programmed life forms, couldn't one argue that every single one of these experiences is by the military? It's a thought anyway. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying it could be the case, right? So then she said that through hypnosis you could kind of tell what seemed to be military and what didn't. So she said what seemed to be military was if you were having experience of women or sorry humans in white coats, underground bases, things like that. And then she said if you were drawn up into a craft, it was likely extraterrestrial. Then she gets into the military traumatizing people through drugs. So people feeling drugged, which someone was talking about in the chat, like how confusing this can be if you have some kind of paranormal ET contactee slash MILAB whatever experience. If you've been drugged by the military, it's going to confuse your thinking. Yeah, and there's a lot here. So let's see. Does anybody have, let's see. I'm checking out what we've got going on. Pale horse, just poking a little fun. Not all boomers are that. Otherwise, I'm guilty of the same thing. All right, I'm right there with you, pale horse. Yeah, it's we can make jokes. That's all good, but it's funny. It's like I make boomer jokes sometimes too. And my mom's like, why are you saying boomer stuff? And I'm like, okay, well, honestly, you could say the same thing about millennials. Like we it's there's a love hate thing between boomers and millennials, and it's really a joke. Like it's all just fun and games. Whatever. We love each other, and my mom and I are like two peas, okay? She's super boomer, I'm super millennial, and we're like, we just get along. It just works. And we just laugh at each other. Okay, so yeah, then this is the crazy part, y'all. So after she drops this bomb on me, she says that this was crazy. You have to watch the interview. You watch my jaw hit the floor. I ask her straight up. I said, Mary Rodwell, why would the military abduct someone? At this point, I'm going like, okay, we're talking about ET contact, we're talking about military abduction, but why in the world would the military want to abduct someone? Like I think about conspiracy theorists where they're like, oh, got to cover up my, camera so no one can see me typing on my computer. It's like the government doesn't care about you typing on your computer. Give me a break. You know what I'm saying? So you have this concept of like people becoming paranoid, conspiracy theories everywhere. The cabal's brutalizing me. And it's like, everybody calm down a second, right? But then there's this question of, is the military really coming into people's homes and taking them out of their homes and you know what I'm saying? Like it makes you wonder, like, is that really a thing? So I asked her, I said, why would the military abduct someone? And she said, the military wants to know why someone's been picked up. What do the extraterrestrials know? And then she said, yeah, so you have a military abduction usually 15 minutes after ET contact. This is why you see the black helicopters. Okay, anyway, at this point, my jaw hit the floor. And so, for those of you who don't know that much about me, I'm going to dive in now into a portion of my own story because at this point in the interview with Mary Rodwell, I was thinking, my heart started pounding because I have my own experiences here that she was speaking directly into. It was kind of weird. So, I'm interested in knowing if we have any other experiencers in the chat. I'm pretty sure that some of y'all are. But okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a background. So Sarah said hashtag black helicopter crew. Oh my gosh, that is hysterical. Okay. So I come from a military background. My dad was stationed at RAF Woodbridge during the time of the Rendlesham Forest incident in 1980, which is a mass UFO sighting. And he was in the 81st Tactical Fighter Squadron. So he was a fighter pilot. He flew A-10s. And so then after, I was born, whatever, I'm trying to keep the story short, but we lived near DC for a while. My dad worked at the Pentagon. He was on the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Colin Powell. We left Virginia in 1997 and moved to Texas. So we lived in Texas. Dad had retired, and we were at Carswell Air Force Base a lot, which is the base in Fort Worth that was about 15 minutes away from where I live. Well, when I was 9 years old, we're driving on the base, and there's this huge rectangular building that doesn't have any windows. And I'm sitting in the car, I'm in the back of the van, and I have three other siblings. And so it was like me and one of my siblings next to me, two of my siblings in front of me, and then my mom and dad in the front. And I look at this building and then I get this like flash, like, we all have, you know, hypersensory or extrasensory perception. Some people just have childhood experiences and some people don't. But in this particular moment in my life when I was 9, it was like I saw a flash of what was inside the building. And it looked like a craft that I'd never seen before. And, coming up in the military, especially with the father as a fighter pilot, I saw a lot of planes. Okay. And, kind of to give you a little bit of perspective on that, my little brother, by the time he was 5, he had memorized all the planes and, the Air Force books. So we'd go outside and dad would point outside up to the sky and say, oh, Mark, what plane is that? And little 5-year-old Mark would go, blah, 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 and know what plane it was. So we, we were raised in a household where, we're around planes. And Anyway, so I see this like flash of a craft that does not look like any craft I've ever seen. And I looked at dad's eyes in the rear view and I said, "Hey dad, what's in that building over there? Is there something in that building we're not supposed to see?" And he looked at me and I will never forget the expression on his face when he looked at me because his eyes kind of went like that. And he laughed and he said, "Oh, I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you first." Like that's always his Air Force joke where it's like, it's so top secret, he'd have to kill you first. It's a joke, right? Anyway, so I just remember that from childhood. And then, life goes on. And then it's 2020 now. In June of 2017, I actually had a contact experience. Now, this is like really bizarre to share because I still really don't know what to make of it. And it's kind of weird, clearly. But I'm going to go ahead and share it tonight. If you've already heard the story, sorry, you're gonna have to hear it again. I don't know any of y'all if if you've heard the story. But anyway, so I was I had my own apartment in Fort Worth and I was going to sleep and my boyfriend at the time, he'd come to stay. So he was sleeping in the bed next to me and it's a queen size bed. We're in my room. I'm on one side of the bed, he's on the other side of the bed and then between me or yeah, me and him, am I saying that correctly? There's the window. So I go to we go to sleep, and then I have a dream about standing on a hill overlooking what appears to be New York City, and I'm standing next to my friend Kim, who's my best friend, and in the dream, there are black helicopters in the sky, and it was like everything was on fire, and there were people running around. People are getting shot. There are grays running around. And at one point, I see this black helicopter so close. I can see the guys, like two guys in the helicopter. I can see their faces. And the helicopter crashes on the ground right in front of us. And I said, "This is our chance, to run." And so we ran into this building and as soon as we get into the building, I'm thinking like, "Okay, where's my significant other?" It was like I went lucid for a minute. And then somebody had turned on the light, and as soon as the light came on, I'm sitting up in bed. And so at this point, I'm looking around my room. I'm sitting up and I'm going, am I awake or asleep? And I remember like metacognitively thinking about how weird it was that I didn't know if I was awake or asleep. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience, but like, I generally know when I'm awake or asleep. It was very disturbing to me that I was sitting here going, why do I not know? And it was foggy in my room. Like, there was a fog in the room. And I'm looking through the fog and I'm disoriented. And I look over at the window and the blinds are closed, the shades are closed, but there's something outside like moving like this behind the window. And I'm squinting and I'm looking out the window. And then it was like a horror movie. That's the only way I can describe it. My boyfriend at the time, he's like he's asleep completely, but he's sleeping facing me like this. And then he goes, "They're coming inside, aren't they?" Doesn't open his eyes and just like is still, says, "They're coming inside, aren't they?" And that's it. And I'm looking at his face and I'm going, "Is this a joke?" And I'm like freaked out. And I'm looking at the window. And for some reason, I said, "Yes." And after I said yes, what was behind the window dematerialized outside and it rematerializes inside my room. And there were two grays and well, it was five. There were two in the front and three in the back. They were about 5 feet tall and they were grays, but they had this shimmery blue skin. Now, mind you, this was 2017. I hadn't looked up all the different kind of species of ETs that people claimed. I didn't know the term Pleiadian, Andromeda, and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know anything of this. And I'd never seen a picture of a blue-gray, and I'm looking, and I'm like, "Is this re" like, I'm just a total cognitive dissonance, like, "What am I looking at right now?" I mean, I coulda reached out and touched the one right close to me, and I'm looking at their skin, it looks so real, and I'm just like, "What are my eyes looking at right now?" And I'm kind of trying to sense, how, like, when you walk in a room, you're kinda trying to taste the energy, like, that's kinda what I was doing. I'm sensing, I'm like, "Is this bad? Are they trying to get me? Like, what am I working with here?" And then for a second, I thought that my boyfriend at the time, like, they were gonna take him, so I grab his arm, and right as soon as I grab his arm, we dematerialize outside my room, and we rematerialize inside of a white circular room and I'm standing on one side of this raised platform, he's standing on the other side, and then there are 5 of these blue grays to the left and 5 to the right, so we're kinda standing in a circle like a clock. And there's this etheric ball or like this, it's hard to describe, but it was a like a lightning ball in the center, and there are lines like from the center of all of our foreheads to like a string up to this ball, and they were communicating inside of this ball. And the way that I describe this is if you're a kindergartner and you're sitting around a table of PhD scientists and they're all talking and having a conversation. You're aware that they're talking, but you don't know what they're talking about. That's what it felt like to me. But it felt like they were showing me how they telepathically communicate. Like I already had this ability, but they were showing me how they did it. Is kind of what it felt like. But this went on for a really long time. Anyway, then I shoot up out of my bed, and how my boyfriend at the time told it, he said that he had opened his eyes and it was like 1, 2, 3, and then I shot up out of bed. So we woke up very similar to the same time. And then right as soon as I come up out of the bed, I just get up because my circadian rhythms were completely off. I walked right into the kitchen to go make coffee, and I look at the clock, it's 2:17 in the morning. Now when I look at the clock and I see that it's 2:17 in the morning, my heart stops. I turn around, I go back in the room, I'm like, okay, that's weird. It's not time for coffee. And as I'm walking back into the room, my boyfriend at the time goes, "That was weird." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, I just had a dream about black helicopters." I was like, "What?" And he said, "I just had a dream that I was laying in my bed at my parents' house. I could see through the ceiling and there were black helicopters flying over the house." And I said, "Hmm, that's really strange because I had a dream about black helicopters." And I told him about the dream, and I told him about the ET experience, whatever the heck that was. And so we're sitting there in bed talking about it. We're like, "Okay, that's strange." And then we go back to sleep. Now, when we wake up in the morning around like 8 or so, um the it was weird because we had felt like we'd been drugged, like, we hadn't been drinking the night before or anything like that, and yet we were feeling very groggy, and I went into the kitchen, and I'm making breakfast, and then I feel something trickling down the back of my right knee, and I look, and there's blood going down the back of my knee, and I found out, um, like, a month later that there was actually an implant in the back of my knee. And then later that week, I happened to be, around one of my family members that I hadn't seen in a really long time, who's not into any of this stuff, but they told me, "Teresa, I need to talk to you." And so they told me that they were visited by a being in the middle of the night. And I'm like when you were asleep. And they said, "No, I was wide awake." And I asked them what night it was. It was the same night that I was visited. So this is the deal. There are a lot of weird factors that we can look at when it comes to this anecdote. Okay. So there are facts of the case. There are things that you could consider woo woo, right? Okay. Maybe it was just a dream, whatever. Like I can accept that. That's fine. The the weird parts are the shared dream of the black helicopters, the fact that when we got up at 2 in the morning, we were wide awake, but yet when we wake up at 8 in the morning, we feel like we've been drugged. That's weird. The whole physical marks and the implant, and then the shared visitation experience in my family. That's pretty compelling. Now, what I find fascinating is that what I learned because of Mary Rodwell and going, interviewing her and then going to her talk after the fact is that this is actually extremely common. The experience that I had is worldwide common. And let me tell you a little bit more about that. This is how it goes. ET contact, 15 minutes later, military abduction, some kind of memory of black helicopters or military personnel, and then followed up by bruising on the body, feeling of being drugged, and implants. It's pretty compelling. Okay, so anyway, what gets weird is like the study of it. Okay, so you have people like going back to our list that we looked at before. We have the concept of ufology. We've got experiencers, the concept of UFOs, and researchers and scientists. So I started researching. I'm going, this is crazy. And like after all of this, I went If the military really are abducting people, why are they abducting people, you know? And Mary Rodwell's answer was that they know that people are having ET contact and that they wanna learn more information about ETs. So, okay, I'm gonna pause for just a second before I go into the research thread I wanna take you guys down, and I'm going to back up for a second, and I'm going to read some of the things you guys said. Um, mm, 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 mm. Okay, so Shannon recently had what the doctors told her was a type of migraine in which she couldn't tell if she was awake or asleep. What? It went on for hours. That's crazy. I'm so sorry you went through that. That sounds very, very crazy. Okay, yeah, Zero, you talk about theta state, hypnagogic state. Yeah, so what's interesting, Zero, about that concept is that I was definitely not in I pretty sure I was not in the hypnagogic state because I've experienced these shifts in brainwave states. I've studied it and I've gone through all of that understanding of like what state of consciousness you're in. So that's what I found I'm really glad you brought this up because that's what I found so interesting about uh this particular incident was that normally I'm very aware of the different states of consciousness and where I'm at in it. But the fact that I wasn't sure was really shocking to me. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so let's see if anybody else. Sharon, did they hurt me? I mean, the implant did hurt for a while, but then I had it removed. Um, so someone asked, oh, Sarah said, was the ball blue? Yeah, it was kind of like a silvery blue. Yeah. Um okay, I think that's pretty good on that. Okay. Um yes, I did have the implant removed. It was metallic. Um yeah, okay. So now I want to go into what I started doing research wise. So I started looking deeper into what has been declassified when it comes to CIA um, experiments. So I started looking into MK Ultra, which was from the 1950s, went dark by the 1980s, but that could just mean that it went into a black project. And what MK Ultra is, for those of you who don't know, at a base level, it's the research and development of chemical, biological, and radiological materials capable of employment in clandestine operations to control human behavior. So this is like kind of super soldier stuff, Manchurian Candidate that we're testing on humans. It's basically about mind control programming. Then we have the Stargate project, which was from the 1970s to 1995, which was the code name of one of the several sub projects established by the United States federal government to investigate claims of psychic phenomena. Okay, so I'm dropping this in. This includes remote viewing. Remote viewing is real. It works. I've actually done it before. So it's legit. These are real. I mean, as a lot of you guys know, psychic phenomena is real. We're talking about paranormal meets supernatural. This is where the gray area is. This where we need to have discernment here because we do have abilities, but it gets in a really sticky gray area when we start trying to enhance these abilities because you can be deceived. You also have something that says I'm dropping links in the chat if you guys want to look into this research. But in 1976, there was Soviet research on the biophysics of parapsychological processes. Okay, so if you guys are interested in this, I mean, this is if you're looking at for a Christian perspective, those of you who are Christian, supernatural worldview covers all this stuff. It covers phenomena, parapsychology, all those kinds of things. So anyway, I will be I'm actually doing a research project now. I'm working with someone who's very, educated and skilled in research and also very interested in this phenomenon like I am. But what I'm interested in looking at is doing a survey across the world, hopefully as many as I can get. But I'm really interested in this concept of um, e- perceived, I will call it perceived ET contact experiences. So we don't really know what it is. I don't, it's the unknown meeting military what it appears to be military abduction when it comes to black helicopters, implants, bruises, things like that. And then the concept of this really happening very commonly and frequently in military families. If you watch the interview, she says that a very high percentage of the people that have these experiences were in the military, or were in a military family, and these kinds of things run in the family. So, how does ufology fit into all of this? So it's really interesting to consider. So I've been kind of like looking into research for my own life, looking at like what could I have potentially been involved in. I was living very close to DC for 6 years during the years that a lot of this some of this was going on. I don't really know the implications of that, but I'm looking into doing some FOIA requests. I know that a lot of people can kind of they say boo to FOIA requests, but I what I think is interesting is that for millennials and Gen Zers, people that are younger than who was involved in basically the part of MK Ultra that's been declassified, it's time for some new FOIA requests. And I'm not saying that I want things to be disclosed that shouldn't be, whatever. Like, we get it. We've talked about this earlier in this stream. But the idea is, if you don't make the request, the information just isn't going to be released. You know what I'm saying? There are time periods where things have to be classified. If we're breaking into, it's 2020 now, it's been a while since the 90s. So it could be time for some new things to be uncovered, especially since 1980. I noticed that, MK Ultra seemed to go black around that time. And then I'm just really interested in the kind of parapsychological projects and remote viewing and things like that. Anyway, so that's kind of where I'm headed research wise, and we'll see what happens there. So, um, what else do we want to go into? So then the question becomes, are these delusions of ETs? Is this all military abduction? What are we working with here? And if these are extraterrestrials, if they are real, why are they communicating with us? Why? Okay, so some people will say that it's because of they're healing us or they're upgrading us. They're upgrading our DNA, they're teaching us things, they're giving us knowledge. Now we're going to come back into the 3Ds, right? Deception, distraction, delusion. We need to be really careful. And there are lots of negative sides of ufology. I noticed that in my experience with ufology, people become really obsessed. There's this, conspiracy cabal side that really drags people down. There are people that are just genuinely curious about their own experiences. There are researchers. There are people that are not looking for ETs to save them. Like, there's a level of, some people are looking to the ETs as, gods, lifting them up, like they're going to save us, they're going to give us special knowledge, and then knowledge that makes people feel like it makes them spiritual. And people sometimes go overboard on this conspiracy content, and that makes them mean towards other people. Let me give you an example. Case in point, I made a video coming out. It was more of like a social experiment, but I supported Taylor Swift on her documentary. I said, you know what? She's a woman in media. I support her. She's had a lot of hate spewed her way simply because she's a musical artist for no reason, just probably because they're jealous because she has money, whatever that looks like. But just in making that video alone, guys, I lost subscribers over that. I had people telling me that I had gone back to sleep, and that they were just shocked. Oh, who put you back to sleep? You're, sleeping masses, that kind of like woo woo, like conspiracy, like you come out in support. I'm a female media person coming out in support of another female media person. J Not because I agree with her. I don't even believe in a lot of the political values she holds. It doesn't matter. I was simply saying, "Let's be nice. Let's find ways to be nice to each other," and people were so angry. It's crazy, guys. It's so crazy to me. This conspiracy mentality. Some of these people, they are just so down in the dumps. They need to lighten up a little bit. So, okay. So we have to look at ufology, and we have to ask, when you look into the phenomenon for yourself, you have to ask yourselves, what are the fruits of this endeavor? Does the content make you feel uplifted and positive and happy, or is it taking you into dark places of frustration and anger? The cabal is ruling the world and brutalizing me and making people really negative, whatever. How can you align with the capital truth? How can you align with love? And how can you distill compassion out of all of this? So I think it's important, as we go about our research journey and truth seeking, that we can, lighten up a bit. We're all on this path trying to figure out what's true. And you know, just we're good. We've got ways to go. Let's just try to take the information, distill what's useful, and let the rest go. Let it go. Okay. Thank you, Burn Enough. What what's my opinion on Alex Jones? I I think that I have to give a level of support to all media persons. I think that, it's really great to have large platforms because you can get information out. I think a lot of people, especially in this day and age, they kind of, criticize, media persons that interview because they want there's a level of distinction between becoming a thought leader or an expert on something and creating or nurturing or hosting a platform for other people to share their perspectives. So I appreciate Alex Jones in that regard. And I think it's really important for us to keep an open mind in going into radio shows and appreciating people who have platforms so that we can just know that they're bringing out information for us to kind of distill. This is actually a perfect question in alignment with what I'm covering right now because like I said, we all have different perspectives. We have different parts of the puzzle. If you know divine frequency, you know that we say all around us are pieces of the gigantic cosmic puzzle, right? So it's important to go into different radio shows and perspectives with an open mind, letting them, speak and then distilling what is important for you. Thank you so much, Burn Enough. Great question too. Okay, so yeah, personal opinion alert, and this is kind of tying in what Bernadette's asking about. I personally found a deep peace within my faith, and I'm not telling anybody what to believe. In fact, like I think a lot of people, unfortunately, come in contact with a lot of really judgy Christians that are fundamentalist, and it's like they want to, tell you you're going to hell or like judge, judge, judge. That's not at all my experience of my true faith. For me, it's a level of peace that just envelops me as I'm going back into this arena. Because as some of you guys know, if you've followed me over the last few years, things got really dark for me. This is really hard when you are an experiencer, when you have these things happening to you and you don't know what's happening to you. And for me, I found a lot of answers when I took it back to my spiritual connection to me and my creator. That right there allowed me to get the healing that I needed so that I could kind of go back into this arena and start looking at this with fresh eyes. Because I think that for me, a lot of this has been very scary. It's been very traumatizing. I think a lot of people have the same exact experiences as I'm having, where they're just trying to understand what it is that's what's real and also what's important, taking it back to the 3Ds of deception, distraction, and delusion. We want to be on this path for truth. I think that at a core level, we are all truth seekers. We want to have that deep connection to our creator and we just want to have a wonderful, good experience. We don't want to be dragged down into the mud. And that's what I want to tell you guys. We just really I promise that for what I'm cultivating here with divine frequency, you're invited. Thank you guys for being here with me on this journey. I'm not a guru, I'm not an expert. I'm a researcher and I'm an experiencer. And you guys are here. We're doing this together. And I really just want you guys to know that I'm going to do everything I can to create an environment where, we're not passing judgment on each other, but we also are allowed to kind of hear each other's perspectives in a respectful way because like I said, we all have different pieces of the puzzle. It's extremely important. And there's a lot of kind of immaturity in not just ufology, but I think, we become adults and we think, okay, we're in adult land now. No one's going to be immature. But then, it's just like high school. so, yeah, the next thing I wanted to share, I'm really excited to share this with you guys. And I'm going to drop it in. I think we have some new people coming in. So I'm just going to say, hi, guys. I see some new names coming in and saying hi. So I just want to say hi to you guys for coming in. Uh, R says, need more females in the truth movement. Rock on. Here I am. Let's do it. That's funny. Okay, UFO Hunt and Chill. Oh my gosh. UFO Hunt and Chill. I just found this guy today on YouTube. Y'all go give him a follow. I was laughing so hard. Okay, he lives in a UFO hotspot and he films episodes of going out and looking at UFOs. So cool. Okay, so he lives in a UFO hotspot, seen many incredible things and had some insane experiences feeling and summoning UFOs. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Very cool. Thanks for being in here. Very cool. Do, 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 do. And Very cool. I'm so glad that y'all are here. This is so fun. Sarah says, "I feel you can be spiritually mature, yet totally irrelevant." Oh my gosh, Sarah, you're my spirit animal. Okay. So I dropped a link in here. I wanted to read you guys some of this article because guys, we need to talk about this. We need to talk. We've got issues. No thanks. It's showing me an ad. Okay. So this is the article that I found the other day that just I no. Okay. The entire infrastructure of your consciousness is constantly evolving on your spiritual journey to higher consciousness, and your family still tries to relate with who you used to be. Okay. So, this whole article is talking about how if you are into conspiracy theories, somehow this makes you more conscious than others, and that you can no longer relate to other people, and that you're so much more woke and important. And, it's just this is so crazy to me. I wanted to find a quote on here to kinda okay, get this part. "No matter how conscious you think you are, we're all stuck down here in this dreadful three-dimensional human existence, at least until our souls escape to freedom after the death of our bodies. Not only that, but you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink." So this whole attitude of this article and so many people in the quote unquote truther movement, give me a break, is that if you take in all of this information, conspiracy content, whatever it is, it somehow makes you more woke. It's this fallacy of woke mentality that makes me want to puke. And now all of a sudden you're more important than everybody else in the world. And oh, they're so asleep. They're the sleeping masses. You can, throw articles at them on social media, but they're never going to wake up. Okay, no. This is just such a bastardized version of reality, really. I mean, it's very culty too. The truth is, we need to appreciate each other's lanes, okay? Everybody has a different path. We need to respect each other's paths because if we didn't have other people doing their path, it wouldn't allow you to do yours. So, there's something to be said for appreciating everyone no matter what it is their interests are. I mean, come on. Like when we're talking about people who aren't quote unquote woke, what do you have? Air traffic controllers? Maybe an air traffic controller isn't into conspiracy content, but are they not important? What about doctors? What about teachers? What about people that are, they know how to make things, or they're gun enthusiasts, or they work with their hands, or they're farmers, like all these people that support your society, but yet you're more woke than them because you break down symbols in the media. I mean, like, I'm not saying these things aren't important. I'm just saying let's put this into perspective and appreciate that we all have our own missions. I love how Shauna used the word mission. She said they're on a special mission and no one else is on that mission. Yeah. 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 It's cool. It's cool. So being aware of facets of the truther movement or ufology or any of these things that can trap you and bring you down into pride, anger, jealousy, resentment, greed, hatred, passing judgment, or throwing stones. We need to connect to love and do this truth movement in a loving way. And so, my conclusion to this stream, thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with me. We covered a lot today. We're going to conclude this with disclosure. So, uncovering what is hidden. So, this is all about the unfolding of your journey and your connection to source. As you guys know, we talk about the paranormal on this channel. We talk about the supernatural. Okay, this is beyond the physical. This is what lies beyond your physical reality, and you are not living in a prison. Okay, this is not a prison. We're supposed to be free. We're supposed to be excited about our experience and wake up and be blessed and know that we're covered and that we're protected divinely. And we're here to work together on this. Community is a huge part of this. And one verse that I love from Luke, and I'm not quoting the Bible to convince anyone to be a Christian. This is data. If you're not a Christian, whatever. This is data. I love this verse. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known, that will not be made known and brought to light. Having that faith and understanding that everything in the dark is going to come to light. That is not even, doesn't necessarily have to be Christian. Okay. Like knowing that everything will be brought to light. Everything will be brought to light. There's a peace and understanding in that. as we're sharing, as we're supporting each other, as we're nurturing each other and being there for each other, we're living and we're loving. We're traversing this unexplained. We're traversing the paranormal and the supernatural together. And knowing that in the future, what is to come, that everything that we don't know now or in the time of imperfection, we see in a mirror dimly, a blurred reflection, an enigma. But then when the time of perfection comes, which will come, we will see reality face to face. So, there is a peace that I receive in knowing this and the protection that I receive and the covenant that I have with God. And as I walk forward and go through some of these confusing parts of life, and we do this together, it's totally fine, guys. Like, we just can take a deep breath and know that we're safe. We are safe here. Okay. It's good. So, anyway, I wanted to show some books again for the interview next week. If you wanted to get the Cryptic Code of the Templars in America by Scott Wolter, we're having this next week, and I'm also doing a book giveaway. Um, Bernard's asking me political questions. I don't know if I really want to answer that. Let's see. Give me a second. I have a 1 second, guys. Do. Sorry, guys, give me a second. I'm Googling something. So the question was, Burn Enough asked who I think Trump's opponent will be for US presidency this year. I don't know, but maybe Elizabeth Warren. I'm not sure. Okay. Thanks for the super chat. Okay. And someone said about Prison Planet. I don't know. I see my mentality is that we are in a time of imperfection right now. So there are things that we don't understand. I don't necessarily think it's a good, healthy way to see your reality as a prison, though. Because I don't think that you can really gain a lot of perspective and growth through feeling like you're in a prison. So, I mean, as with everything, your life is your experience, and depending on the way you perceive your surroundings and your external and your internal and the way you interface with that, it's going to change your experience for the better or the worse. So and we all have highs and lows. We go through seasons in our lives. So, for me, the last year for me was a pretty deep, dark place of depression, but I'm coming out of that now. And everything that I've learned through that has only grown me into a brighter light. So, anyway, that's just kind of the way that I look at it. And yeah, that's that. Let's see. I think that what I'd like to end with is to make sure to tell you guys to tune in this Friday to see my interview with Truthseeka. We're going to do it live. I will drop the live link in the chat right now. Azakel says, is there a platform or forum where we can share and talk? That's a really good question. I used to have a Facebook group, but I shut it down. I was thinking about maybe starting a Facebook group again, but I don't really want to manage it. So I don't know. It's a good question. I was thinking about maybe Discord. I've looked into Discord, but for now, what we're using now, if you jump into the YouTube community tab, so if you go to my YouTube channel, hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, go to my YouTube channel and you go over to community. And then I think you should be able to comment on there. Um, if you can't, what I'll do is I'm gonna post after this and say, type your comments about the live stream, or you can just comment in the chat. Honestly, if you want to communicate, you can jump into this like after the stream is over in the comment section. You can communicate via the comments, so that's definitely a way to do it too. Yes, Zura says create a Discord server. I think I'm going to. So yeah, you'll be on the lookout for that. Shannon says, I feel like 2019 was a year of destruction and 2020 is a year of healing and rebirth. Rebirth. Let's do that. I like that. I love it. Okay. So yeah, tune in this Friday. It's going to be so it's February 21st, 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. I dropped the live link. Yeah. Shout out to Lulu. Thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any thoughts, questions, ideas, whatever, comment in the comment section below once the live stream's over. And I hope you'll have a wonderful evening. And I will see you guys live on Friday. So in 2 days. So yeah, y'all have a wonderful night. I'll catch y'all on the flip side.